This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
This is Capital Connection. Fridays during the Noon Report, we give you direct connection to all that's happening in Albany and Harrisburg with the experts on the issues at the state capitals. They are Jason McGuire with New York Families and Michael Geer at the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Well, Jay, I'll start with you. Millions of New Yorkers all over the state are asking the question, who in the world is Bruce Blakeman? He was nominated this week to be the Republican challenger to Governor Hochul, trying to do what no Republican has been able to do in a quarter century, and that's win statewide office. How does he do it? If he can.
Yeah, so Bruce Blakeman is the Nassau County executive, and it's going to be an uphill climb. It always is for any Republican, but there have been some false starts on this one. There was a little mix-up over the lieutenant governor pick, been some concerns upstate over how well he knows upstate and over some of the issues of concern to perhaps Second Amendment voters, to the pro-life community. So there are some fits and starts that are causing problems for the Blakeman campaign, but a lot of it's going to ride on the direction of the economy this year and the presence that President Trump has in the state. How that goes and how the people view President Trump at the national level will likely impact what happens even in state races this year.
Yeah, Kathy Hochul's made it clear she's running against Donald Trump, maybe not even Bruce Blakeman. It seems like she's more concerned with Trump. He's pro-choice. George Pataki, the last Republican to win statewide office, was pro-choice. Any similarities there between the two?
Well, I think it's important to remember that Pataki didn't really start that way. His first term was very different than how he ended. And I think people have to remember that the pro-life constituency is largely Republican in this state. And so if there is a Republican candidate that wants to pick up those pro-life votes, then he's really got to throw some things out there for the pro-life community to want to put some vested trust in him.
All right, we'll see where it goes. Michael, voter ID was a big topic this week in your state because of what John Fetterman and Dave McCormick had to say on this matter. Fetterman, one of the few Democrats to support the SAVE Act. Why do you support these safeguards to ensure election integrity? And do Democrats have a point when they argue that this would disenfranchise voters?
Well, secure elections are really the bedrock of the republic, and the SAVE Act is requiring proof of citizenship, and Pennsylvania has faced real election issues with mail-in ballots and verification. So I think these safeguards prevent fraud and protect legitimate votes. We show ID for things like getting on airplanes, buying alcohol, or banking. Voting, I think our most important duty should be no exception. On the idea that voter ID disenfranchises voters, I don't think the evidence shows that that's the case. Actually, many studies where they have voter ID have shown that it either doesn't depress voting, but actually in some cases increases voting. And to suggest that minorities can't get IDs is patronizing. Millions of them do so daily.
Yeah, and I know Congressman Thompson told me yesterday he thinks 60 to 70% of Americans support voter ID. So I don't know why it has to be such a divisive issue. Jason, there's some big news out of the Empire State. Will Barclay, longtime Assembly minority leader, I think he's held that post for about 5 years, stepping down, resigning from the New York State Legislature. He's been replaced by Long Island Republican Ed Raw. We don't know a lot about this guy. Who is Ed Raw? And if you would, talk a little bit about Bruce Blakeman's running mate, the sheriff of Madison County, Todd Hood. Was that a good pick?
Yeah, first regarding Leader Barkley, he has served in that role for a number of years. We've had a great relationship with him, and I've appreciated his leadership. We have also worked with Assemblyman Ed Raw, now Leader Raw. He is a man that came over from the Assembly Ways and Means Committee, which is a powerful committee in our Assembly chamber, and so I think he brings some experience to that role, and he was unanimously elected by his conference, and so obviously there was some confidence in his ability to lead in that regard. The pick of Bruce Blakeman's Lieutenant Governor, Sheriff Hood out of Madison County, is an interesting pick, as it does give him some upstate presence now, and it does indicate that the Blakeman campaign views crime as still a continuing issue for voters in this election. Whether crime or affordability becomes the larger issue on people's minds is the question that we will know come November whether or not it was an effective strategy or not.
Yeah, we'll see. I thought it was interesting, Michael, last week during the governor's budget address, seemed to think it was inevitable that recreational marijuana will be the law of the land in the Commonwealth, even even going so far as to say, and I quote, everybody knows this is going to happen. Is that true? Everybody knows this is going to happen, Michael, that they're going to get this across the finish line eventually?
He's been saying this for years now, since he became governor. He's been pushing for this. We don't think it is inevitable, and Dan Bartkowiak, who leads our efforts in raising awareness of the dangers that come with commercial sale of marijuana and legalizing it, wrote a really interesting column this week about his trip to Washington, D.C. earlier this week, where he visited with families that have experienced the loss from marijuana, of children who became addicted, of DUIs, of all sorts of things. He wrote about a woman named Monica from the eastern part of Pennsylvania whose young son recently committed suicide as a result of his life just going in a downward spiral because of marijuana abuse. We don't want to see more of that in Pennsylvania, and that's why we are taking a stand and believe that we can fend it off yet again in this legislative session.
Yeah. Jason, were you surprised that Lieutenant Governor Antonio Delgado didn't put up more of a fight in challenging Governor Hochul this year? He suspended his campaign. I guess he saw the writing on the wall, but he was really pushing her on some of these more progressive issues. How did you take that news?
Yeah, I don't know that I was really surprised. His campaign failed to get a lot of traction, and even among the very liberal Working Families Party, they declined to endorse his candidacy. I think they saw some pragmatism, and they're eventually going to align themselves with Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul is in a very strong position. She's been a very proficient fundraiser. She is polling well in her party, and so it made it very difficult for any challenger to emerge. And one that kind of looked like he was running on a bit of a revenge tour himself, attacking her, was not a very popular position to run from. So I can't say I'm very surprised, but it does clear the path for Governor Hochul all the way to November, where she'll have to face that Republican nominee.
Michael, I know there's not a lot you agree with the governor on, but the cell phone ban in schools, I know that's something your organization has said, hey, we can maybe go there. But with all this talk, I know there's trials underway in Los Angeles and New Mexico as far as the reach of social media into the lives of kids. Do you support government getting involved where they can in reining in this technology when it comes to the harmful impact it's having on children?
Well, I think first I'd want to say that Governor Shapiro's mention of this, I think, is his tack to pretend he's a moderate for his presidential ambitions and to suggest that he's got some common sense ideas. Here he is proposing expansion of marijuana, which will damage young people, and then with the other breath talking about this cell phone ban. But we do believe that there is some sensible policies that can be put in place to protect children, especially in the bell-to-bell sort of situation in a school setting, where cell phones have proven to be distraction. Technology, quite honestly, iPads and all of those other things, have not improved educational achievement. And when we see cell phone addiction and those sorts of things, and social media addiction, I guess I should say, really impacting the mental health of young people and being a distraction to them learning, and school achievement declining in these last years since COVID, I think it makes some good sense to say no more cell phones in classrooms.
Well, Jason, activists gathered in Albany this week clamoring for criminal justice reforms. They pointed out that about 75% of the 30,000 people in prison today in New York are people of color. These activists are calling this a legacy of racism when it comes to our criminal justice system. Do they have a point?
You know, it's hard because I would desire to bring our organization more into the realm of criminal justice reform, but it gets mixed up with so many other issues in areas that I don't think really deal with criminal justice reform. So it's tough to kind of build coalitions on this front. Regardless of a person's skin color, there are certain basic human rights that they are eligible for and that they should inherently have, something that we should recognize as free citizens in this country. And we make this about racism, about a certain portion of the population, and undercuts the overall argument. Yeah. There is a need for criminal justice reform. I'm just not so sure that aligning with those that have a certain political identity is the best way to go about it.
Well said. And then finally, Michael, last week, New York, as we all know, became the 13th state to legalize doctor-assisted suicide. That ship has sailed, and it will become law 6 months from now. How much momentum does that give a state like yours, and what are you doing right now to prevent that from happening?
Well, we are concerned about it. You know, we did a webinar just recently that's now posted on our website, giving some insights into the dangers that come with physician-assisted suicide. And the pressure that comes when states around our borders enact something like that, or enact casino gambling or legalizing marijuana, that does put pressure on Pennsylvania lawmakers to say, well, if they're doing it there, we should do it here. We don't want to miss out on the money. And so we understand the challenges there. We are gearing up to educate people to say this is not something we should see happen here in Pennsylvania.
All right, and you can watch that webinar I did. It's very informational on your website. Michael, where can folks go and learn more about the dangers of doctor-assisted suicide?
PAFamily.org.
And stay involved and informed on all the issues in New York as well. New York families doing such a great work at the state capitol. Jay, where can folks find you?
NewYorkFamilies.org.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.